Throughout human history, the definition of race has changed. Webster Dictionary's 1913 definition of race states, the descendants of a common ancestor, a family, a tribe, people, or nation believed or presumed to belong to the same stock, a lineage, a breed. Today, there is a widely accepted theory that humans as a species are descendants of a common ancestor. Therefore, race is not a breed or subspecies. The American Anthropological Association adopted a statement on race in 1998. According to their website, this statement represents generally the contemporary thinking and scholarly positions of a majority of anthropologists. An excerpt from the statement says, "With the vast expansion of scientific knowledge in this century, it has become clear that human populations are not unambiguous, clearly demarcated, biologically distinct groups. Evidence from the analysis of genetics indicates that most physical variation, about 94%, lies within so-called racial groups. Conventional geographic racial groupings differ from one another only in about 6% of their genes. This means that there is greater variation within racial groups rather than between them. Throughout history, whenever different groups have come into contact, they have interbred. The continued sharing of genetic materials has maintained all of humankind as a single species. In the past, people have believed that our DNA can sort us into categories such as the 5 races: African, European, Asian, Oceanian, and Native American. This view says that there is a large variation between the races, and each race is its own separate category. Additionally, individual races are thought to have a relatively uniform genetic identity. After years of research, scientists have found evidence that this view is simply not true. Studies show that while human populations roughly cluster into geographic regions, variation between different regions is small, thus blurring the lines between populations. Furthermore, variation within a single region is large, and there is no uniform identity. In 2002, Noah A. Rosenberg and Stanford scientists participated in a landmark study about the genetic structure of human populations. Vivian Cho, a Harvard PhD student, summarizes their study. They examined the question of human diversity by looking at the distribution across 7 major geographical regions of 4,000 alleles. In the Stanford study, over 92% of alleles were found in 2 or more regions, and almost half of the alleles studied were present in all 7 major geographical regions. The observation that the vast majority of the alleles were shared over multiple regions, or even throughout the entire world, points to the fundamental similarity of all people around the world, an idea that has been supported by many other studies. If separate racial or ethnic groups actually existed, we would expect to find trademark alleles and other genetic features that are characteristic of a single group but not present in any others. However, the 2002 Stanford study found that only 7.4% of over 4,000 alleles were specific to one geographical region. Furthermore, even when region-specific alleles did appear, they only occurred in about 1% of the people from that region, hardly enough to be any kind of trademark. Thus, there is no evidence that the groups we commonly call races have distinct unifying genetic identities. In fact, there is ample variation within races. Cho goes on to say, in the biological and social sciences, the consensus is clear. Race is a social construct, not a biological attribute. Today, scientists prefer to use the term ancestry to describe human diversity. Ancestry reflects the fact that human variations do have a connection to the geographical regions of our ancestors. With enough information about a person's DNA, scientists can make a reasonable guess about their ancestry. However, unlike the term race, it focuses on understanding how a person's history unfolded, not how they fit into one category or another. In a clinical setting, for instance, scientists would say that diseases such as sickle cell anemia and cystic fibrosis are common in those of sub-Saharan African or Northern African descent, respectively, rather than those who are black or white. However, even if scientists agree that race is at most a social construct, any cursory search of the internet reveals that the broader public is not convinced of this. After all, if an Asian person looks so different from a European, how could they not be from distinct groups? Even if most scientists reject the concept of race as a biological concept, race exists undeniably as a social and political concept. The popular classifications of race are based chiefly on skin color, with other relevant features including height, eyes, and hair. Though these physical differences may appear on a superficial level to be very dramatic, they are determined by only a minute portion of the genome. We as a species have been estimated to share 99.9% of our DNA with each other. The few differences that do exist reflect differences in environments and external factors, not core biology. Importantly, the evolution of skin color occurred independently and did not influence other traits such as mental abilities and behavior. In fact, science has yet to find evidence that there are genetic differences in intelligence between populations. Ultimately, while there certainly are some biological differences between different populations, these differences are few and superficial. The traits that we do share are far more profound. In essence, human race is a cultural construct rather than a biological one. Groups may have lived together for long periods of time and have some alleles in common, such as skin or hair color, but again, there is more genetic variation within races than between races.